Hello and welcome to the Rose Rehash. That's right, every Monday night after the Bachelorette, I'm going to recap the show. I'm going to give out awards, and then I'm going to take your audience questions. Make sure if you want to ask a question, put it in the comments. Tag me at Jared Freid. Tag me. We'll get your question at the end of the show. But we had a great episode. And also, before we get started tonight, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you get subscribed. You get updates whenever I post something. I don't do a lot on YouTube, but I want to make sure you get involved anytime I post something. So subscribe to my channel. Please right now hit that button and comment. If you're watching this later on, comment. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would love to hear from you in the comments. So now, we had a great episode of The Bachelor. I thought this had it all. It had fun, it had drama, it had romance, it had drama at the end again. We had kind of the puppeteer of the Bachelor producers bringing on someone from past seasons. That's fun. That's where it gets creative. That's where this show, the idea that they don't mess with this show more as if it's the Truman Show, as if they're, I want this to be Hunger Games. I want a new weapon to float down from the sky. Why wouldn't we have this? That's why it's entertainment, people. So we start the episode. Thomas is ostracized from the house. Thomas is going on runs alone, and everyone is talking shit about Thomas. Every guy in the house has decided Thomas is bad. We got to get rid of him. We got to figure out a way. We all have decided as a group that we don't like Thomas. We don't trust this guy. Okay. The lack of trust comes from a place that I actually don't buy. The idea that Thomas is Thomas is a liar. It's very apparent. The problem is Thomas's only way out of the lie is with the thing that you can't disagree with. Thomas is like, yeah, of course I thought of being the Bachelor when I came on this show. Who wouldn't think of that? And he is technically right. But you just don't feel like you're getting anything authentic from Thomas. And even his eyes, it just looked like there's nothing going on behind them. So we kind of get the vibe that all the guys don't like Thomas, and they're kind of leaning on this fact that you can't really disagree with. The idea that someone would go on this show and not think of maybe being the Bachelor is crazier than thinking of being the Bachelor. But that's how we start. Thomas is ostracized, and the rest of the guys are like getting along except for with him. Okay, so now we go on the group date. The group date was fun. The group date was great. It's probably one of the better ones they've had since doing pandemic versions of this show. They're going to have the guys do different truth or dare events. There's one where they have to whisper into an ear and kind of try and, they have to sexy talk into the ear. And Andrew comes in there and does the British accent, and it actually worked. I thought the ear was going to be pregnant afterwards. And then, sensitive Greg goes in there and does a Southern accent for some unknown reason. No one knows why. And so they're whispering sweet nothings into this ear that they can hear, and the ladies are doing the gal pal thing. It's Katie and Tasha and Caitlin, cackling. Oh, I'm cackling, even though they're not really laughing. There's also another booth where they have to wax each other, and they wax a part of, I think it's Trey. He gets his back waxed by Boston Christian. Fun moment. Fun to see the guys do this type of stuff. And this was the whole point. Katie's like, I love a sense of humor. So I want to see how you guys play with these kind of uncomfortable events. And it actually did show their personalities. It was a nice little event. The one event that was crazy to me is one of them is that they had to eat stuff. I love how the Bachelorette is like, hey, let's really mess with these hot dudes. Let's make them eat. And it's like they put the calories and the carbs down in front of the food. And it's like, yeah, that's a Saturday night for me. Like the idea that like the worst thing they can do, oh my God, 10 Twinkies? How will I do this? What about my abs? And it's like, get over yourself, Bachelorette contestants. You kidding me? I eat that. I would have 7 vodka. Like if I rose that silver platter and I was like, oh, this is lunch. This is what I eat on a normal basis. So they have the eating thing. They do this whole thing. And it ends with them all eating hot peppers. And Katie's saying, this hot pepper challenge is like showing that they'll do anything for me, which is kind of weird. Like if you ever went on a date and you were like, yeah, I think you're cool, but will you ruin your night by eating this pepper for me? It's like, well, this isn't how it works, but I get it. It's in the vein of the game. And sensitive Greg does something very specific. I've talked a lot about on this, how I don't really buy sensitive Greg. It always seems like he speaks to Katie in a different tone of voice than he speaks to the men. If you've noticed this, he'll go into this like airplane pilot drawl when he's with Katie. He's like, and over your left hand is the Grand Canyon. And it's like, what is going on? And then when he's with the guy, he's like, hey, what's happening? It's like, okay, is there something in your throat or not? Do you just get so choked up every time you see Katie? Or are you putting on an act? And then there was a very specific scene where Greg eats the peppers and then he gets down on a knee and he's doing this joke of a proposal. But he does say, I love you. He says it a few times, and then they cut to Katie and she's like, it kind of counts. And it's like, this is a version of love bombing, what Greg is doing. What he's doing is, I say I love you, but in a jokey way, but I have said it, so I have the ability to say it. It's very gaslighty to me. And I'm noticing it with he's changing the voice. He says, I love you, but I don't love you. I'm kind of joking. It's a big ring, but I do love you. Like, what is the story, Greg? Just something to keep an eye on, because something, my spidey sensors are going off. We get to the cocktail portion of the group date, and Andrew sits down with Katie and gives her he's like, I'm going to pay you back. And he pulls off the silver platter, and it's a fun charcuterie board. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I am the board lord. It is tacos and candy and a Lunchable all on a board. And it honestly looked like it was put there to make someone shit their pants. Like, if I saw that, I'd be like, listen, this is great, but I am in a brand new dress and I have Spanx on and there is no way I can sit on a toilet. That is something I always wonder, like, what if you go on these group dates and you do have to use the bathroom? Like, isn't there a point, like, you see that taco board and you're like, I can't go, because was Katie going to disappear for 20 minutes? She can't do that. So if I saw that board, I'd be like, what? You want me to eat a taco right now? Like, are you asking me to have to go like on national television? You're going to make me have to use the bathroom and hold the wall to be like, So it just, but they have a nice moment with the taco. They eat the taco together. Then Andrew comes back to the group and the men are sitting and talking. And Trey brings up that he wants to tell Katie that Thomas is not here for the right reasons. And this is an interesting moment in the show because this happens every season. Someone takes it upon themselves to let the Bachelor or Bachelorette know that someone in the house is no good. And it never works. It always ends up that the person who tells gets sent home because now they're involved in the drama. Then they do the 2-on-1 date. They'll make them face off. And somehow now you're sparring with the person that you know shouldn't be here. And it's really at the expense of your own time. So there's this debate, and it's almost the nature versus nurture debate of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Do you take up your time to let her know that someone here is bad for her? Or do you take your time to use it for you? Andrew is on the side of Andrew spins it the right way. He says, no, she should be trusted. She's a smart enough woman to figure this out on her own. And then Trey is saying, how would you feel if you saw that 10 weeks later that someone let you deal with a jerk on your show? And it's like, both sides have merit. Both sides make a lot of sense. So Trey takes it on himself. He's going to go tell her. So he tells Katie, Thomas is no good. He says he wants to be the next Bachelor. And Katie takes it in and kind of walks off. At this point, you would expect Tayshia and Caitlin to take Katie in her arms. No. Katie goes to a producer, like a random producer. They're like, are you okay? It's like, I thought these were your gal pals. What happened to cackling when we're yelling in the ear? Where are they? They're only at the front. So this was a very strange part. You would think they're the hosts. Why aren't they there? What are they, on their phones looking at notifications? What's happening right now? So Katie goes off. She finds out about Thomas. Then the next day, Tayshia visits Katie. Tayshia visits Katie, and Tayshia has this vibe like she's one of the cool girls in the high school, and she's kind of letting the new girl have a trial at her clique. Like, it has that vibe. Like, Tayshia comes in and she's like, it does seem like things have been hard. But a man, this is how she says it, someone from my past has been messaging me about you and how they think you'd be a good match. That is the weirdest way to explain that someone likes her that I've ever heard. Why not just say, hey, I know a guy who wants to come on the show. He's a great guy. Why do you have to fashion it as like someone I said no to, someone I was like not into, someone my sloppy seconds might, want to have at you. It's like, it just feels weird and inauthentic. And I didn't like the way that her and Caitlyn kind of do this, like, I'm already, like, we're the elites, and maybe one day you'll become a part of Bachelorette royalty. Like, as if they're in the fraternity or the sorority and Katie's pledging. It does have that vibe. And then Katie goes, okay, well, who's the guy? I would love to hear who this is. You want to bring up? And she goes, no, I can't tell you. And it's like, what? That is the worst setup I've ever heard of my entire. Can you imagine someone comes up to you and goes, someone likes you, and you go, who? And they go, you'll see. And you go, excuse me? Can I see their Instagram? Can I do a scroll? And so now it's all set up as like, who's this guy? We all know it's Blake, who was on Claire and Tayshia's season. And they set up Blake like he's some sort of a catch. And they do the big reveal, and it's revealed that Blake has DM'd Katie in the past. And you're like, wait, this is his MO. He DM'd Claire before her season as well. And then Claire was like, crazy Claire was like, I like your gumption. Like, of course, Claire would like that someone DM'd her. And it's like Katie's DM'd with this guy too. And it's like, is this what Blake does? How many former Bachelorette or former contestants has Blake DM'd? I'd like to know. Let's get the scorecard. Let's see. Because how do we know we can just trust this guy? Or he's just like looking to find, anyone with this common thing in common with him. So Blake gets, Blake basically like begs to come on the show, and Katie's like, I'll think about it. So now we have another Caitlyn and Tayshia visit. Now, yeah, the seniors are coming down to hang out with the new nerd who just came to their school, and they talk. They basically talk about the Blake thing and what's going on with Thomas, and they help zero. They don't help at all. So now we come to the rose ceremony. Before the rose ceremony, Thomas shows up at Katie's door, and he's going to explain himself. He doesn't explain himself. Thomas speaks in love Mad Libs. He just says things that sound good. He literally said nothing. He's like, I am here because I can see a future of you and me. He just says things that sound good, but they don't mean anything. So Katie, and you can tell by the way Thomas is a great liar because he looks at Katie, he goes, so a lot of things have been said. Would you like to explain those things that have said so that she can tell him the story so that he can respond? You always want to respond with the lie. You don't want to give the lie because that gets ahead of the story. Katie does a great thing. She goes, no, why don't you tell me what's going on? And he's like, okay. And then he goes into love Mad Libs. So we end that whole thing, and we're not sure if Katie has bought it or not because he says a lot of things that sound good. We go to the rose ceremony. We go to the cocktail party. Katie's like, I'm here, but I'm not going to cheers you. I'm really not in a good mood. At this point, Katie is kind of playing it up a bit. Like, if you had that meeting with Thomas and you just knew it wasn't for you, like, just get rid of him. I don't understand the need for a moment. Like, if you're the no bullshit Bachelorette, why not just like have him go now? But she's saying she's thinking about it, and she doesn't feel like cheersing anybody. And she gets to the rose ceremony, gives out all the roses, and there's one left. And she goes, Thomas. And everyone's like, what? Thomas? Like Justin's like eyes are popping out of his head. He's like, I don't know what to do. And she brings him up, and then she steps back. And she says, Thomas, you're a liar. You manipulated me. She rips Thomas apart. And then she ends it with, your Bachelor audition is over. See yourself out. And at this moment you go, okay, that was a lot to like let this douchey guy go. So he's out, and now we have the scene where Katie's going to go to Blake and let him know that she's going to give him the final rose instead. And she knocks on the door, and Blake's like, hello? Like, everything is just too dramatic with Blake. I don't buy it. The idea that he was in his room and he wouldn't look through the eye hole, like, wouldn't you look through and go, oh, that's her, let me make sure I get dressed? Like, he pops out like, it's like when you're a young kid and you fake sleep and your parents are like, are you up? And you're like, yeah, I think so. I don't know where I am. Oh, is it Christmas? Oh, you got me presents? Like, come on, Blake. We know Blake reacted like he got woken up by his parents and he was beaten off in his hotel room. So Blake is invited to stay at the house. Katie says, you're going to stay at the house. Why wasn't he in the house? Do you mean to tell me they put Blake at a worse hotel than what they're staying? Like, what is he at like a Holiday Inn Express? Like, where did they put him that is worse? And where did Katie travel to? You can move in the house now. Where? There doesn't seem to be anything within miles. So then that's the end of the episode. Blake's on the show. Let's do some awards. The Batchies is where I give out roses to my favorite people and divorce papers to my least favorites. Let's start with the roses. I got to give first rose to Trey. Trey was awesome this episode. He was fantastic. He got his back waxed. He really took a chance there. And then he's in that debate of whether to tell Katie, and he does give a good reason for telling Katie that someone in the house is not a good guy. And she goes, he basically says you have to protect someone you care about, and to protect them is to let them know that there's someone here that is not being truthful to you. And I you have to respect that opinion, and it got him the rose. It actually worked when this never worked. So give it up for Trey. The next rose goes to Andrew S. Andrew S. pulls out the British accent to whisper into the ear, and he gets the ear pregnant. Then he takes the other side of the debate, the nature versus nurture, of not telling Katie, let her figure out on her own. She's an adult, and I respect her enough to figure this out. And that's also a good point. So I love that this debate was going on, and it was respectful, and it was nice, and it didn't turn into like making other people evil. It was just like, hey, we have two separate visions of how this show works. And it really was a pleasure to watch, I got to say. The last rose goes to Michael A. Michael A. isn't on the episode for 1 minute, and we get to the end, and he looks at everyone, and he even says what I just said. He goes, we can disagree, but this is about Katie. And you're like, Michael A. always says the right thing. And again, he gets literally 3 minutes on this episode, and he owns all 3 of those minutes. Let's go to the divorce papers. First one's going to go to Thomas. Thomas just spun his wheels. It's always interesting to watch someone who's a liar just keep on lying. And I'm happy he's gone because I was done with Thomas. How many times can you hear someone give the same speech that says nothing? He even stood up in front of the rose ceremony. He goes, I just want to apologize to everyone. Like, oh, you're just apologizing? Blanket, the men, the women, everyone, Tayshia, Caitlin, the producers. Like, dude, at what point do you have a spine and opinion? That's the difference between Thomas and Andrew and Trey. Andrew and Trey had opinions with backing up and had something to say, and we're like, oh, no, here's the reason I'm telling you that we should tell her, and here's the reason I wouldn't tell her. And Thomas is just like, love is what the heart wants, and maybe there's fear, but all is well, it ends well, and one day we shall meet again. And it's like, you didn't say shit. The next divorce paper goes to Katie. Katie, if you knew he was lying to you, if you didn't like what you heard from him when he came to the room, send him home then. Don't do a moment. It felt very produced. She goes, Thomas, and it felt like Katie wanted to create a moment out of last night. It felt like Katie wanted to create a moment out of the ending of this show. She knew this would be the big finale, and I'm a Katie fan, but I don't want my Bachelorette also being the producer. I don't need her writing on the fly. The fact that she brings Thomas up and she has to step back and she's like, you're a liar and I can't trust you and your Bachelor audition is over. It's like, it's a little much. It's a little produced. It's a little too written for me. It just doesn't scream. it screams as like she was like, I get to have a moment. And it's like she sounded like the person who wants to tell off the person who ghosted them, or wants to tell off the person who did them wrong in dating. It's like, you're not teaching Thomas anything. He didn't learn anything. He's going to go home and lie to someone else. So this big moment is all for naught. To what? Protect the next Bachelorette that he goes on, or to embarrass him? At this point, he got what he wanted. He got almost what he wanted. He was on TV, and he got even extra time on camera. The last divorce paper. Caitlyn and Tayshia. The whole thing isn't working. It's not working. It's not working. Every time they're on the screen, it feels like they are in the sorority and they're dealing with a pledge of the sorority. They can't even say things without reminding us that they were once the Bachelorette. A man from my past might be into you, but I won't tell you who he is. Like, doesn't Katie have the right to just hear the name of the person? Yeah, who is it? Let me know. Now I'm your pawn. You're the puppeteer. You're here for 5 seconds every episode to say, and now we have the final rose. It's like Caitlyn and Tayshia, it's just too much them not hosting and being kind of friends. It does feel like they think they are in their alumnus, and as alumnus we will speak. It feels like the alumnus of a fraternity being like, well, we handle the money and you guys gotta be good. It's like, get out of here. Be a friend. Be the gal pal that's on the couch during the dare competition, or don't, or be the official very dressed up host. Don't go back and forth as if you're like, well, you'll find out what's going on next. No, I thought you were on her side. Let's get some questions. Who do you think will make it to the fantasy suites? Right now, I got Andrew S., I got Sensitive Greg, I've got Michael A., and I've got my last one would be Sensitive Greg, Michael A. Who did I say? Are you back there? Sensitive Greg, Michael A., Andrew S., and I guess Trey right now would be the fourth one. So, yeah, that's who I got right now. How fast do you think the guys will turn on Blake, the DMer? I think right away. I don't buy anything from Blake. My first question would be like, so have you spoken? What have you been doing? What's the story here? And the idea that Blake talks about Katie like, and when I saw her, as if she's the only single woman on earth, that he could even be interested in, is crazy. It's a lie. And he promised her that he goes, he told her, he goes, I promise you will be engaged if I'm at the end of this. It's like, how can you even make that promise? Do you have any taste in this matter? You're just gonna, you know her through a DM and some Instagram posts and some edited TV, so you just know I'm in for engagement? I don't know. I think they turn on him right away. Why do you think Angry Aaron is still around? I think Angry Aaron is really liked by producers. Every season, there's a guy who's good at moving storyline along, who can go, and today we went to the cowboy ranch. I think Angry Aaron is that guy. Angry Aaron's also the straw that stirs the drink. Since Caitlyn and Tayshia don't want to host this show, he's the one that's really calling people out and getting us some actual answers. So I like that he's there too. Any more? Which of the platters of food would be the hardest for you to finish? So there was a Twinkie platter, and then there was a mashed potato. I think the mashed potatoes with the gravy, because it looked like a thick gravy, and I like a lighter gravy. So I think that's the one I would have had an issue with. And mashed potatoes, how it goes in is how it comes out. So that's going to be a tough one for me. Any more? That's our episode. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and we'll be back next week.